Now in this video, I'm going to be going over my bug out bag. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about what kind of packs my wife and I use. I'll explain why we use those particular packs, and then I'll show you the contents of my bug out bag, which include barter items. Now when planning and putting together a bug out bag, people have different requirements. For example, some people can carry more weight than others. And I think it's important to find out how much you can carry before you buy a lot of things for your backpack. One way to do that would be just put a small pillow in the backpack and then some heavier items on top of that pillow. So about the mid-range of that backpack to upper a little bit. And try walking with your pack for 2-3 miles. It should be comfortable. It shouldn't hurt. You should be able to talk while you're hiking, and you shouldn't be gasping for air. Now some people have physical problems that make it difficult for them, and in that case talk to your doctor. But one idea might be just lower the weight of the pack. And the second idea would be you might reconsider what kind of backpack you're using. My wife and I have been dealing with back problems for many years, and it seems like it's getting worse the older we get. So every once in a while we put our bug out bags on and go for a hike to find out if they need adjustments of any kind. You know, lower the weight or other types of adjustments. In 2013, 14, or 15, somewhere back then, they hurt our backs. They didn't 6 months earlier, so this was kind of a shock. So we bought two different bags. We bought two 511 72 Rush packs, and they hurt after about a mile. Now we felt stuck. I thought, who better to ask about this kind of thing than somebody who can live out of a backpack for extended periods of time while hiking many miles in the mountains or wherever. A backpacker, a hiker. So I called REI, and REI set us up with a couple of backpacks. Set me up with an Osprey Atmos AG65 men's pack, and set my wife up with a Gregory Deva 60 women's pack. Now both packs have internal aluminum frames, and I think that made all the difference in the world. They custom fit the packs to us. They put weights in them, pillow weights, for the amount that we normally carry, which total weight with the pack is about 18 pounds or so. And so they fit just fine. I haven't had any problems since. Now I'm going to list the type of packs and give more information under the description. In fact, I'm going to put under the description almost everything I'm going to talk about, so you can read up more on those. And I'll be doing a review on almost everything that I'm going to talk about. So be sure to hit subscribe and notifications if you want to see that. Oh yeah, and also I'll be doing a video about how to make a budget bug out bag. So be sure to check that out. We put together our first bug out bags in about 2004. Ever since then, we've changed the contents many times over the years for a variety of reasons. But there's one thing that stayed the same the entire time, and that's 8 categories that I use to figure out what to put in our bug out bags. The categories are defense, shelter, hydration, food, first aid, communications, miscellaneous, and barter items. The first category is defense. My wife and I carry a firearm most of the time anyway. I've been licensed to carry a concealed weapon for many years. Don't need it because I'm in Texas now, but we trained how to use it and we practice. Now we also keep extra magazines in our bug out bag. Sometimes we have the magazines with us, but most of the time they sit in the bug out bag. We also have pepper spray so we can de-escalate a situation or just choose to use a non-lethal method of defending ourselves. The second category is shelter. Now I want to be as bug-free as possible and warm and dry. So I would like to be up off the ground whenever I can when I'm sleeping. That's why I have a hammock. It's actually a hybrid shelter/hammock. It can hold 400 pounds, so my wife and I can both sleep in it. It's 100% waterproof and large, so I can just flop over to the side to stay dry if it's raining. And we have a bug net for it, and it can be used in other ways as well. I can set it up as a tent or a lean-to or a ground cover. It's very versatile. My wife carries a Camouflage Texsport 2-person tent, and we love this thing. We've gone camping with it many times, and it's worth every penny. We paid $28 for it, but I think it's about $48 right now, which is still a pretty good price. If she's alone, she'll do fine. If I'm alone, I'll do fine with my hammock. But together, it's an advantage because now we have a rain fly for the tent, a ground cover for the tent, or a lean-to for the tent or another tent. So it gives us a lot of options. The sleeping bag that we used to use is a TETON 20-degree sleeping bag. And it's a great sleeping bag. We really liked it, but we needed something smaller and lighter. So what we use now is a Soul Escape Bivvy, and it can retain 70% of our body heat, which is a really good thing. Hopefully, in a bug out scenario, we'll be able to barter and get something a little more comfortable to sleep in, but that's what we have for now. And then finally, we have a Poncho. And this Poncho says it's only 3.2 ounces. We used to have one that was 8 ounces right here, but we needed to lighten it up a little bit. For clothes, that's another video. But I can say that we have clothes set aside that designed to wear in layers. But I would suggest something, and that would be a hat with a large brim so that you can stay dry when it's raining and keep the sun out of your face and shoulders. The third category is hydration. We have two ways to filter water. One is our Sawyer mini filter. My wife uses a Sawyer bottle with a filter in it. And we each have a Grail filter. There's three reasons I like the Grail. First, it filters viruses. In an SHTF situation, I can imagine that waterways will have a lot more viruses. And it also filters really fast. All you need to do is, just dip it in the lake or river if there's no sediment. Otherwise, you need to filter that. And then take the center part, just push it down, and it should take 15, 25 seconds, and you have clean water. The third reason I like it is because you can drink right out of it, right afterwards, or pour it in another container. For me, I'll be pouring it in my clean canteen, putting the top on the clean canteen, and then doing it again, filter the water, and put the top on the Grail, put carabiners on it, and then on my belt or backpack, and I'm good to go. The next thing we do is we have 2 bottles of water, just 16.9 ounce bottles, and those will be gone pretty quick in a bug out scenario. We'll crush the bottle down, put the top on so it stays crushed, and then what we could do is just open that bottle back up, stretch it back out, and use the Grail to fill those bottles up. The fourth category is food. We have Cliff Bars, we have tuna, beef jerky, things like this, things we can eat on the run, if you will. When we're first bugging out, we won't have time to hunt and cook. So this is important for now, but eventually we'll have to cook. So I made a couple fishing kits out of an Altoid can, and I've got a razor blade in it, some twine, small weights, a lighter, bait, some hooks, fly hooks, floats, ferro rod, and a couple little parts that I can attach to a stick and use as a rod, and then wind up the line around it. We also have a couple reels. They're called Yoyo reels, and they work well. I've caught fish with these in the past. All you do is you attach them to a branch or something over a river or a lake, and then pull the line out, get your hook and everything on it, and lock that reel. And then when a fish bites it, pulls it, that lock will release, and the line will be pulled automatically back up. So it basically catches the fish for you. And it'd be nice to have this, 4 or 5 of these in an SHTF situation, sitting in a lake while you're sleeping and have some fish breakfast. The next device, we wouldn't use unless it was an SHTF kind of a situation, and that's a rat trap. We just put it on a game trail, camouflage around it, and I drilled a hole in it, got some cordage through it, tie it to a tree or something, and then if it catches a rabbit's foot or something, it can't run off. So, or you could just use bait. Another thing we have is a snare. Now, this isn't a cable type snare. This is just wire. It's cheap, it's light, it's easy to carry, and they're easy to use. We set up a few snares a few years ago, and we've practiced ever since just to make sure that we know how to do this. So it's a little learning curve there, but once you have that skill, you kind of have it forever. And it'd be nice to have 10 or 15 of these out working 24/7 for you to get some food. I also have a stove, and this is just a titanium stove. Works really well. I've got a GSI cup. I can boil water or cook something in. Also have a couple pocket guides. Now something else, or another part of the food category is how to make a fire. I have Bic lighters. We have a fire starter, magnifying glass, cotton with Vaseline on it, and ferro rod and steel wool. The fifth category is first aid. I haven't been really happy with those pre-made first aid kits over the years, but I found one that will do for now. It's a Protect Life kit. I just supplement it with my own supplies as well. My wife doesn't use this. She actually made her own first aid kit. Now I'll be doing a video about how she did that, so be sure to subscribe and hit notification if you'd like to see that. I also have a trauma kit. Now, this was a gift from a police officer friend of mine. He showed me how to use it, and you can buy these on Amazon. I'll have a link below if you want to see. But it's really good to have some kind of trauma kit, and more importantly, learn how to use it. Don't just assume you know that you're going to know when you need it. We have bandanas, laceration closures, and FDA-approved antibiotics. Now, I did a video right here in this link if you'd like to check it out on how to buy FDA-approved antibiotics online. The sixth category is communications. The first device I want to talk about is our AM/FM weatherband radio. Now, I have several radios like this in my Faraday cages, but I chose this one for the bug out bag for 3 reasons. 1, it's only 8 ounces. It's the lightest one I've got. 2, there's a micro USB port, so I can use my battery to charge it. Some of my radios only charge with a crank or solar. And 3, it was only $17. The price is right. The second device I want to talk about is my cell phone. When we buy a new phone, we take our old one and put it in a Faraday cage. But we include apps on it that we call survival apps. They all work offline. These are apps that help you identify edible plants, medicinal plants, shelter. It tells you how to make shelter, how to make traps, how to filter water, first aid, these kinds of things. But we also put on games, music, movies, books, a lot of entertainment things, because we could run into a very reliable a power source at some point. It'd be nice to have that. The last device is a Bofang UV 5R handheld ham radio. Now, I want to explain to you why we have this radio. In a bug out scenario where it's 2 or 3 days or a week, it's nice to have, because you can ask for help, you can find out information to make decisions about what to do. But have you thought about what you would do if it were a long-term, bug out scenario, like months, no power, grids out, worst case scenario, catastrophic event? What's your plan? My plan is not to bug out if I can help it, but if I have to, or you have to, practically speaking, what would you do? You're not going to be able to survive off the land. Most people won't be able to survive off the land. So what would be your plan? Mine is to meet like-minded people. I don't think you can survive without joining a group of some kind. But I don't want to disclose who I am without finding out who they are first. So I do a little recon with my ham radio. If the repeaters are working, there'll be all kinds of traffic on it, or just simplex, or just walkie-talkie type. I can listen in and find out if I want to approach them. And when I do, I can do it with my ham radio without disclosing where I am. And so that's why we have ham radio. The seventh category is miscellaneous. Now, as part of my everyday carry, I'm adding a couple of things in here, and that's my rechargeable flashlight. I keep the cable in my bug out bag all the time, the charging cable, and my knife. But I also have a BK7 knife. I've got a shovel. I don't carry this anymore. It's because of the weight, but if you can handle weight, I highly recommend a shovel of some kind. I've got bug spray, and all I have to do is add water to these little white tablets, and they unfold to towels. I have a flashlight with batteries, 550 paracord. My wife made a couple sewing kits. We've got some bandanas. My last prescription glasses I keep in here, along with reading glasses. We have some duct tape. Duct tape's heavy when it's on that cardboard it comes with, so we took 20 feet off and wrapped it around a very light card. And normally keep passports in here, but they expired. The last device is a 10,000 milliamp hour battery. Now, and a solar panel for it. Now, this battery, I brought it down to almost a zero charge, and it only took 5 hours to charge it up with this solar panel. That was impressive to me. Now, I used to carry a battery that was over twice that size. It was a 26,000 milliamp hour battery with one solar panel on the side, but it takes days and days to charge that up. It's not practical for a bug out situation. We use that for camping just to top it off, or traveling, just use the solar to top it off kind of thing, but not for survival. And so I'd rather have something, a larger panel, small battery, than a small panel and a large battery. And if you can handle the weight, this is a 20,000 milliamp hour battery, which I prefer, but I'm trying to lighten up. So this is a really good little battery. The last category is barter items. Now, I have no intention of adding barter items in my bug out bag unless it's a long-term, grids out completely for months or longer, worst case scenario. As a matter of convenience, we take our barter items and just leave them in a Faraday cage right next to our bug out bags, because there's a couple electronic devices in it that we want to protect. All of our barter items only weigh about 4 pounds, so we would divvy it up so we each carry 2 pounds. We can handle that, or take things out of our pack to accommodate it. Now, most of these things we already have in our bug out bag, but we have more here that we can trade off. There's 2 reasons, as I see it, to have barter items in a bug out bag, but it's predicated on you believing that your goal is to meet other people, to belong to a group. The first reason is your stuff's not going to last. Your water filter will plug up, your tent will get a rip or something. You'll run out of food, you'll run out of first aid supplies, things will break, things will get stolen, things will get lost. So that's one reason. If I get in a group, my goal is to trade right away before they lose or use their stuff. And I try to trade things that are like consumable fast, like food, for things that aren't, like a water filter, and then I hide it all. The second reason is, it's my belief you'd have to be marketable. You know, you're not guaranteed to get into a group, and they need to see value in having you join via goods that you can trade, or services you can perform, or skills that you can share. Skills and services are way better than trading goods, because those last forever, and your things will go away eventually. But it's important to have something like this. If you're older like me, you're a liability. You're going to have a problem getting in a group, in my opinion. Can you picture a 70-year-old man coming in and says, I would like in? Well, no, they're going to use their resources for younger people. But what if he said that he can prove he's a doctor? Well, let's come on down. You're our guy. It's all about what you can provide. Eating frogs and snails and rats and crickets, it's going to get old after a while. So if you have spices or something to make it taste a little better, that would go a long way in trade. You'd have some in your bug out bag for yourself, but to have enough to trade off would be nice. You're not going to get a tent for it or anything, but you'd get something nice for it. We carry onion and garlic powder. We also carry Tabasco sauce. Now, if you have a skill like making bread, leavened bread, that would also go a long way in trade. So make sure you pack up some yeast packets. Now, these expire over time, so you have to kind of keep those up. But in fact, if you can just make flatbread with just flour and water. I did a video on how to do that right here if you want to check it out. And I have a video on how to make sourdough bread as well. So my skill is sourdough bread. And so what I have is dehydrated sourdough starter flakes. And I can just take some of these flakes, add water, make sourdough starter, get some flour, a wheat field, make my own flour, try to find flour. And that's all I need. Water, flour, and salt. I can make sourdough bread. And it's very healthy, and I think would be highly desired in a group. Now, the next subcategory has to do with vices or habit-forming supplies. Now, my wife and I don't smoke, but we carry cigarettes that we can trade off. I think we get a good trade with these. And we also have drinking alcohol, which would trade well also, and possibly even have medicinal purposes. We have caffeinated coffee, caffeinated tea, very light, and we carry quite a bit of it. So all of these would be really, I think, pretty good for trade. The next subcategory is what I just call miscellaneous barter items. It'd be nice to have an extra water filter, because if someone doesn't have one, that'll trade up pretty well. Having extra seeds would also do well in a trade. Having gold, silver, and cash. We keep cash in our bug out bag, gold, silver in our safe. But if we're going to bug out, we take that gold and silver with us, at least some of it. A couple ounces of silver and a few 1/10 ounces of gold. I think the cash is king at first, in the beginning of a disaster situation. But during the entire ordeal, it'd pretty much be worthless. People want food and water. I think at the end, when things are starting to get a little bit better, that's when gold and silver and cash will become more valuable again. The next subcategory within my barter items has to do with medication. I've been buying fish antibiotics for many years. I just bought some in the beginning of 2023. I've never taken them, and I don't plan to. I have FDA-approved antibiotics. But if I run out of those and it's an SHTF situation, I would in a situation like that. They're light and easy to carry. They're small. And the most valuable thing that I have in my pack. There's going to be plenty of bacterial infections around. Bacterial pneumonia, strep throat, bacterial gut infections, cuts, you name it. I can pretty much ask for anything I want in a trade. for these. Very valuable. And I also have a bag full of Advil PM for 3 reasons. First, it reduces temperature and aches and pains, all the reasons you take Advil. But the second reason is it'll help you sleep. And in a bug out situation, people are going to need help with sleep. But the ingredient that's used to help you sleep is the same ingredient in Benadryl. So it's also an antihistamine in case you get stung by something that you're allergic to or just allergies in general. So I think that's a good idea to have. It's about 3.5 ounces for that bag. Another thing to consider would be carrying vitamin C. I read someplace that 2 million sailors died between the 16th and 18th century from scurvy because of their diet. And in a bug out scenario, I'm not sure, I'll be getting, or other people will be getting enough vitamin C. And so I think that's probably the most important vitamin to store or to have in a bug out bag. The last subcategory within my barter items has to do with electronic devices. The first device I want to talk about is my 200-watt inverter with alligator clamps. It only weighs 1 pound. Now all I have to do is connect it to a 12-volt battery. It'll produce AC current and I can charge everything in my pack pretty fast, including my ham radio. I also have a 500-watt pure sine wave inverter, but it's 2 pounds. So if I can accommodate that weight somehow, taking things out or whatever is in my pack, that's what I would take. Now I don't think it's going to be difficult finding a 12-volt battery. There's 278 million cars in America, plus probably just as many batteries in stores. So I don't think that'll be a problem. But if it is, what does it cost me? It costs me carrying 1 pound. I also have a charge controller, which is 9 ounces. So all I need is a panel and some wiring, and I can charge that battery. So what does this have to do with barter? Well, I can offer to charge other people's electronic devices for a trade. And there's a movie called Book of Eli that you may have seen. It's this catastrophic event took place, no grid. They have some fuel and generators, I believe. Denzel Washington walks into a shop, says, "Can you charge my battery?" And the guy says, "Sure, but for some coin." So he trades a lighter and some Kentucky Fried Chicken towel wipes in packages to get his battery trickle charged. The last device I want to talk about is a Geiger counter. In the type of scenario that I'm talking about, there will be power stations, nuclear power plants melting down. And from what I read, you need to stay between 50 and 80 miles away from those when they do melt down. I'll be able to tell if my group is in danger of radiation with that Geiger counter. And the Geiger counter is only 4 ounces. I'll also be able to test food and water for radiation. So I think that also will go a long way. I have one last point I want to make because it's very important. And that is, I have no intention of bugging out unless I absolutely have to, because it will be extremely dangerous to do so. Some people won't have a problem killing for far fewer items than you saw in my bug out bag. Some people just walk up to other people and grab their stuff right off their back. They don't have things to barter with. They'll use stolen items to barter with. I may not have a choice. My house might end up on fire. There are a number of reasons I might have to bug out. Now you might find yourself in a similar situation. I came up with a defensive plan to help deal with this that goes beyond, my handgun with ammunition and pepper spray and this kind of thing. That's okay for a 2-3 day bug out scenario, but not for an SHTF situation. It won't last. My defensive plan includes knowing how to be less noticed, knowing how to escape if you're being chased by a mob, knowing how to defend yourself within a group, a group that you join. If this sounds interesting to you, then hit subscribe and notification, because I'm going to be doing a video pretty soon about that type of situation. I want to thank you for watching this video. So it's been a long video. Thank you so much for taking part of your day to look at this video. And if you liked it, please like it and share it. And don't forget to subscribe. So have a great day. Thanks again for watching.